ladies in the middle. Checks back against Carter and scores. That is atypical for the Amina Margot.
Quickly gets it back again. Oh, what a goal! Well, that sums up her season. The Gunners are WSL champions.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Vic Akers Wonderland podcast, recording, well, for me at least, from Madrid, because it is Real Madrid versus the Arsenal. Sadly, not at the Bernabeu this time, so I can't exactly harness the memories of Henri and the Gunner Galactico, but hopefully a win nonetheless, and we will be talking about that. We will also talking about Everton versus Arsenal, a return to winning ways, which is always nice. And to go through all that is, of course, the magnificent Matt in the hat and the lovely Lottie. Lottie sporting a bit more, a brand new bit of Arsenal memorabilia. So for those of you listening on the podcast, but on the podcast app, you're going to miss out. But for those of us on YouTube watching, Lottie, what is that you have draped around your neck?
Really?
Go on, show us.
Hello to you too. Oh no, it's just the Arsenal women's scarf. It's got the obviously the 90s/80s canon on it. UWCL. I've got the red part up on thing, and it's cool.
It's very,
I like
very
the
cool.
inside as well. It's white. It's got AWC written all over it, so it's great.
Yeah.
Extra long. I suppose the kid didn't get me warm at the Chelsea game. Did get a couple of comments, but I was like, you know what, I don't care.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. Looks fantastic. Sadly, out of stock.
Online, but I bought mine at the Emirates, so
yeah, exactly.
Not
so
in the armory, in the hut up by Dennis Burkamp. They have like a whole little section just for the new merchandise for the women. Can't miss it because even the outside of the hut's got AWFC written all over it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I am loving the rise in Arsenal specific women merchandise. It's really good. We had the away strip those years ago, and now obviously getting this custom range coming through. So no, really good to see, and it is very cool. I am very jealous. I have obviously my scarf, but I think you've upped me on the scarf game this one time, Lottie.
Absolutely.
So well done to you, Matt. You are scarfless, but you are rocking the Arsenal hats, which is good to see. How's the weekend been for you?
You know what? I've really enjoyed it. It's not just it's really interesting going from finishing work, running over to Walton Hall Park for the game, and then just you don't really know what to do with yourself for the rest of the week. Weekend really once the game's finished. So family kept it quite entertaining with a quick hospital visit in and out, which was a bit of a concern, but everything's okay. But then you have obviously the Conti Cup was going on as the League Cup.
Sub Cup.
No, I think everyone's just going to call it the League Cup now, aren't they? They're not going to call it the Subway Cup.
We're Continental Tires champions. We know what we are. Come on.
I
have no shame at the moment. I don't care.
We will forever be the Conti Cup champions. No one can take us away from that because it no longer exists, which is quite a nice position to be in. But yeah, sadly, we weren't able to grace that final, which had a pitch that actually looked worse than Meadow Park, from what I can see on the TV pictures. And of course, Chelsea won, as they always do. But we're not going to talk about that. That's another podcast for another club. We're talking about the Arsenal. And Arsenal on the Friday night were at Walton Hall Park, as you said, Matt, taking on Everton. Now, were you at this game last season? Because it wasn't a great one for us last season.
Yes, I was there last season.
Yeah,
I was behind the goal where both the goals were scored, actually.
That's impressive because they scored at opposite ends of the pitch. So we had obviously in that game last season, Russo scored in the 81st minute, and then I think it was Hobson or Laura Hobson, or there was a young Everton player. Izzy Hobson, thank you. Izzy Hobson scored, I think, the 95th minute, and she became the youngest player in WSL history, I believe it is, to score. Yeah. Great moment for Everton, obviously a bit of a sickener for us, and it kind of kicked us up the title race for good. So I was hoping for better. Obviously, early this season, Everton came to Emirates Stadium, 0-0 draw. One of the worst games I've watched at Emirates Stadium, if I'm brutally honest, and it sort of accelerated the departure of Fiona Seidenfeld.
I've had worse.
Yeah. Still, you were there for this one, Matt. A rarity, as you being at a game that neither me nor Lottie were at, which is a good oddity.
It's a bit
Firstly,
mental.
a bit mental, but going into it, were you confident that we would Arsenal would get the win?
I think I was expecting this game to go a lot differently than it had. If I had to put it into best way possible, it would be I was expecting this game to be a bit similar to what it would have been at the Emirates in terms of I was hoping at the Emirates it was going to be a very expansive game. It was going to be end to end, and it just didn't happen. It just felt like they might as well just passed it backwards and forwards to each other, and just because that, like they did sit in that Simpsons game,
Yes,
where it was,
yes.
just it's just
I know the
was one of
reference.
those. It just felt like one of those games. But this one, I think, because of how Everton have um, gone out aggressively in the transfer window in January, it has really revitalised their intent in the league. And I think they're over the count now of 14 points, so they're definitely safe. But I think it was one of those where let's see how Everton are, and let's see how difficult they can make it, because the height difference between Everton and Arsenal, it's night and day, with Justin Van Havermaet being one of the tallest players on the pitch for she is basically like if you ever played if you ever saw England play with Jill Scott was the tallest player on the pitch.
Yes, yeah,
Justin
yeah.
Van Havermaet is basically the Jill Scott for Everton. You can see her coming like from a mile away because of the height difference. But Everton are a very tall and I wouldn't say as physical team, but they are quite an imposing team, and it'll be interesting to see how they carry on with the rest of the season. But coming into this, I was hoping that this was going to be a really good matchup, especially with what happened at the weekend previous.
Yes, obviously the weekend was a bit of a disappointment. Obviously getting knocked out of the FA Cup. So I was hoping for a good win to sort of get us back on track, especially with this Madrid game coming up. I don't think there are any surprises in the team sheet, if I recall. I've just got to go through it quickly. Yeah.
The only one that
Manu in goal, wasn't it? Because of the
Yeah.
So DB did a concussion, so obviously Manu in goal, but the back four was as expected. Although Kyra on the bench, who went for the little Volti in the midfield, and good to see Kelly starting. Obviously couldn't start in the FA Cup, but she was back in and playing against her former club, one of her many former clubs, against Everton. So thankfully we got the first goal, which is always good. Russo tap in. Well, I assume that because neither me nor Lottie could see this, because the stream decided to go a bit berserk, and at one point we were, I reckon, looking at the commentator's torso, who I think was commentating from a remote location. But you were there for it, Matt. So could you tell us what happened?
Yeah, it was just the cross in the box caused a lot of havoc, and unless Russo gets in to have the shot, if it's one of those where unfortunately Courtney Brosnan, she's got a finger to it, but she's kind of pushed it in, and it was a bit of a shame because you think she's got it, but it's just slipped through her fingers and it's gone into the back of the net for 1-0. It was a really interesting goal, but usually when these things happen, when you haven't scored for that long, any goal will do, and I think that's
Russo's last goal, was it the derby, or has she scored since now?
I believe it was the derby.
Yeah. I mean, she has been in very strong form this season. So the idea of, I mean, I know she had a bit of a drought at the start, but since Rene's come in, she's been on form. So the idea that she's been one or two out of step is a bit odd. But yeah, that was got us off the mark at least. But I don't think we really kicked on from it. And I believe it was Tony Payne with the equaliser. Which end of the pitch were you at for that? Were you at the Russo end or the?
So I was at the Russo end, but
right.
That Tony Payne's been one of those players that you look at and go, she needs to get her first goal. And
yes,
it's one of those where if it's going to come eventually, you don't think it's going to happen, and then it does happen, and it happens against Arsenal. It does seem to be a common theme for Arsenal for that, to gift these first opportunities to opposition players. But it was just pretty much the same, really, at the other as Russo's goal. It was essentially a tap in.
It was. I think it was Catch's noise of the shot, and obviously Mane could try and save it, but I think it's blocked. I think it's either by Catley or Fox. Couldn't quite tell on the highlights, but one of the defenders, and of course,
It looked like Catley to me.
yeah, so blocked by Catley, and all of a sudden everything's out of kilter. Everyone's in the wrong positions, and Tony Payne, that's great opportunism in the box, scores it. And I suppose that's always the feeling, is you're never safe at 1-0 because you can get that freak block, that freak deflection, and suddenly the game opens up in ways you didn't expect, and it's 1-0 at half time. And I was at home trying to follow the stream whilst also right on what at the time was an absolutely atrocious game at Anfield, where for about 40 minutes nothing happened. And I'm also on the process of recovering from being on nights all week, so I'm trying my best to sort of stay awake, watch a really rubbish game, and keep half an eye on the Arsenal game, and just hoping we're going to get through. So very much my emotions were all out of kilter and all over the place. Thankfully, in Anfield did pick up right at the end of the half. I think it was Olivia Smith got the goal and was crucial in the second. So that was going well, but I was thinking at half time with that 2-0, we've got to win. We've got to win at Everton, because Man United are finally going to lose a game just because they've not been playing well, but they're playing average for most of the new year. They're finally taking the L. We need to get the win. We need to get that goal. And I don't know, going to the second half, Matt, how confident were you that we were going to do that? There wasn't any change. There wasn't any changes at half time, but there was a big change on 60 minutes. But until then, what were your thoughts?
I think it was fairly even, and it was when Payne did score, I did say, well, that's deserved, because they had been knocking on the door, and just it was either a block or Manu had made some fantastic saves. Actually, throughout the game, I think they hit the crossbar and the post. And there was again one of those
Arsenal
things.
Did, or Everton did?
Everton did, and it was just one of those where eventually Everton. If Everton had hit the other post, it would have been a hat trick for them, and not to get the goal. But I think that going into the first half, going into the second half, that I think Arsenal wouldn't have been the happier of the two. I think they didn't realise how effective Everton can be in attack. Although it was inconsistently on target, they were still being menaces in the box. And I think it was just a sort of get to half time, have 15 minutes or 10 minutes to just relax a little bit, take a breather, and then go out in the second half and attack, make sure to attack Everton and give them more problems to think about.
Well, what I did know, there was a moment, I think it was Chloe Kelly, I think it was from a corner, there was a cross, and there's almost an own goal. And I say this, Courtney Brosnan's one of the best goalkeepers in the league and doesn't get anywhere near the attention he deserves, because the reaction save she pulls to tip it around the post was absolutely brilliant. But a bit like the West Ham United game, and again, proactivity from Rene, which I really like, and again, something I don't think we saw against Liverpool, but did here. 60 minutes, we've just gone 60 minutes, quadruple substitution. Velty, Little, Frida, Kelly, all off. Beth Mead, Ford, Stina, and Cooney Cross all on. I said this, I was saying to a friend, because Kyra was on the bench. I was saying, I was wondering if like against West Ham, Rene's saving Kyra to put into the pivot with Mariona and go chaos, ditch the defensive shield, go all out attack. She did that, and a bit like against West Ham, immediate impact. I think it was 2 minutes afterwards, we get the lead again. And I thought this was a Ford goal, and it wasn't, sadly. This was a Maren Mjelde own goal, but a great credit the attack and the speed of it as well, just completely caught Everton off guard.
It was really the best way I can put it, an old-fashioned Arsenal goal, in that you just go from 1-2 touch football and you just go with it. And this is one of the things that annoys a lot of fans in the previous couple of years when there's been the low blocks. The best way to get against the low blocks is to play quick, fast flowing football, and that's where it's so effective, is that when it happens so well, look what you created. Okay, it goes down as Mariana Melda's own goal,
yeah,
but it created a lot of chaos.
Yeah, so it's a good bit of passing and moving on the wing. It's Mead out to Russo, and Russo with a very clever pass into the box. Fox makes the run, opens the game up. Low cross through the box. I mean, you mentioned about that Everton player who's very tall. Is it Van
Justin
Havermaet?
Van Havermaet,
But
yes.
yeah, so it was. I think that's one of the reasons why it's been said. That's one of the reasons why a lot of Arsenal's ball was very much a low ball game on the ground. Obviously, that's where the Russo goal came from. This is where the Fox setting up the own goal, if you will. And from that moment on, obviously we were in the lead, but my only feeling was we were the only team attacking. I didn't really sense anything from Everton once you went 2-1 up. I don't know, it was the same for you. I think Catley hit the post, hit the crossbar, the header, hit the post. Steiner was missing chances of fun. Were you confident that Arsenal would get this over the line, or were you just fearing that Everton sucker punch?
I don't think there was a feeling of a sucker punch. It was more a case of Everton failed to really go out in the second half and attack Arsenal. And it wasn't until they made the last couple of subs that Everton finally came out to give it a good go.
Yeah.
Talking to some of the fans around me, it was just a case of they felt like Everton can lose this game, but they're not going to give it a good go. But it does feel like when the big teams do go there, they do have the mentality to sort of go, oh, it's 3 points drop. This is going to be 3 points drops. But then you go and look at what happens against Man City. They go and win that game. So it can happen, and there is a possibility that they just need to get out of that mentality that they can't go after the big teams, because they have in the past. They do have some history behind them to say that they have been the best team, whether it's the leagues or whether it's cup finals and things like that in the past. So I think it's just a case of getting over that mentality, because and maybe bringing in 2 or 3 of those players.
Do you think it's a bit like an inferiority complex? Is it that they don't feel they're good enough?
Yes. Yes, and I think that probably stems from some of this, not from a lot of. If you were to ask WSL fans if there was one team that you would want to get relegated, I think there would be. I'll probably say 30%, 30 to 40% probably say Everton over everyone else in the league.
I think it's a bit harsh.
I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm trying,
Yeah.
but if it was a list of all 12 teams, I think that Everton would be 3rd or 4th on that list.
I can think of probably more, maybe 3 or 4. I don't know. Teams I would like to see. Well, Spurs obviously being one, but for obvious reasons. Chelsea another. But from teams who I don't think are pulling their weight, I would point at teams like West Ham United and Leicester City. I don't think with Everton. I think there is. I mean, I know that
there's
the
intent now with the new.
Yeah, there is intent, and that's the thing. With the previous ownership, they did dabble with it, and then they went chaotic, and then they went off the rails. New ownership's come in, and I think they've steadied the ship. I think the thing with Everton now is we want to see them a bit more progressive, because we keep saying of Everton, it's unlucky with his injuries, it'll be fine. Brian's doing a good job, and etc. But that story just keeps going on a loop, and eventually they need to break free of that. There was one more goal right at the end. Alessio Russo stealing the win. After Steiner, missed a few 1v1s and great opportunities, and you're thinking, crikey, can we finish this off? It was Russo, a great pass from Beth Mead. Russo rounds the keeper, taps in the empty net in front of the away fans, and it's 3 points for Arsenal.
That was probably where everyone would have gone, okay, it's game over now. They can sort of relax now. I think also after this, there was a bit of confusion as well, because there was a bit of worry as well, especially with what's coming up next. In Emily Fox.
Yes, we'll get to that in a bit.
Right, so just talking on the goal then. Again, when I go back to watching Alessia Russo that first time oddly enough, against Everton at Old Trafford, and she really did run the game, but she was scoring goals with her head. But this is the Alessia Russo that I have fallen in love with. Big eyes there from Lottie. No, it's one of those where you go,
The
wow.
immature child in my head right now is going, ew. I'm not even joking. That's
but I
what
know,
that
but
face
this,
was for.
I
Just
get your
for
point, Matt.
context of the audio.
Yeah. I get your point, Matt. This is the striker we wanted. This is the
Yeah,
striker we thought we were going to get from Man
the
United.
fox in the box, almost like the Adam White but taller.
Yeah.
And
Ellen White was pretty tall, should we just say? She was pretty tall. But no, I'm loving that opportunism and that clarity under pressure to round the keeper and tap it into it, not to rush it, because we saw Stina sadly, maybe overthink some of her chances, shoot at the keeper. There was a really good one she shot wide. I think it could on the counter, because you mentioned Everton went for it a bit in the second half. It left the door open for the counter. It was 3-1. It could have been 4-1. And to be honest, if it had been 4-1, I think it would have been harsh on Everton. But there were plenty of good chances. As I said, we hit the woodwork a few times. I think Courtney Brosnan made some good saves. I was just glad for a routine away win at Everton, because I could think there's been a few tight ones down the years, and obviously we dropped points at last season. Good to get the win. As I said, Man United losing 3-0 at Anfield. As well, the gap has closed, and we're now second, back on goal difference, back on top, above them on goal difference, second place, well behind Chelsea, which we'll get to in a bit. You mentioned Emily Fox, so there was a curious substitution. Fox subbed off with a stamped foot, as you believe, and Lena Hurtig came on at right back. Now, Lottie, you're a big fan of Lena Hurtig. Do you think this could be Hurtig's position for the rest of the season?
Let's just see what happens. In the modern game, they've got to be able to play everywhere, whether they like it or not. I mean, we know Katie plays the whole left-hand side. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. I haven't seen her as a right back before, apart from the other day.
On a more broader question, this was obviously Hurtig's first appearance back in the side since injury. I mean, how excited are you? Because she's on the plane for Madrid. It's been confirmed she's in the squad. How excited are you to see her back in the squad? And do you reckon she's got another crucial goal in her? Because obviously we were there when she scored against Juventus. Do you think there's going to be another Hurtig moment between now and the end of the season?
Yeah, Champions League moments. Come on, she only scores in the Champions League and then she gets injured.
Well, I was going to say,
unfortunately, I think it's a bit tricky with what's going on, because obviously we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. I think, unfortunately, this is someone we do sell her. We'll be disappointed if she goes, but it is what it is at this point, because I don't think she's going to be getting ahead of anyone else anytime soon at this point, although Rosa Kafaji is questionable.
Well,
so yeah.
But good to see her back anyway on the pitch.
Always. It's always great to see Lena Hurtig. Yeah. It doesn't matter how many minutes they get, especially when they're coming back from injury. You're just happy to see that they're there, regardless of where they are. It's a bit like when Beth was coming back. It was the same thing. She was in her usual position, but we were just happy to see her.
Absolutely, and I hope we get to see her at the weekend against Liverpool. I'm hoping I'll be seeing her tomorrow night. At time recording, it is the night before the big days against Real Madrid. But hopefully, I'll see her in the quarter-final game. So another player we need to talk about is Leah Williamson, as she broke the record for Arsenal, the all-time WSL appearance holder. You may have seen the media from Arsenal. Just if you haven't been paying attention, anyone can remember how many games it was she now got to?
158.
Well done, 158 matches. Make her the all-time
Miracles, I got it right.
holder. Yes, the all-time WSL appearance holder for Arsenal. Her first WSL match was way back in 2014. So a quick pop quiz. Can you guess, of all the WSLs, have a guess, who do you reckon it was against? And I can give you a big clue if you want.
Okay, is it a current team that's in the league?
It's a team that no longer exists.
Right,
Ooh,
okay, so
that's not going to help me. Matt, you can have this
it
one.
could
Sorry,
be
I'm out.
Yeovil, or it could be Yeovil are now Rugby Borough, aren't they?
No, Yeovil now Bridgewater, Coventry United and now Rugby Borough.
But yeah, I'm getting them all confused. So I was going to say Doncaster Bells.
No, it was Notts County.
Right, yeah, of course admin.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got that.
Yeah, they absolved in 2017, sadly. But yeah, Notts County away it was. So you made her first, just a few days after her first ever game for Arsenal, which was off the bench in the Champions League against Birmingham City. But we won't talk about that game because it's rather traumatic. However, Congratulations for Leah, 158 WSL games. Obviously, just to say quickly, any favourite Leah Williamson moments in WSL that you'd like to celebrate or talk about at all? I mean, I've got one right now I can think of, but any come spring to mind? No. Well, mine was going to be her celebrating against West Ham in front of the North Bank, trying to do the world's worst roly-poly. In front of the North Bank, celebrating getting the equaliser against West Ham United. But congratulations for Leah, 158 matches. Here's hoping for another 150 or so. So with that result, as I mentioned earlier, we are now second, 36 points, tied with Manchester United, Chelsea on 44, City on 32. 6 games to go to now in the end of the season. Arsenal, we've got Liverpool at the Emirates Stadium, and then we've got Palace, Leicester, Villa, Brighton, and a home game at Man United. How do you think this is going to play out? Man United, we should just say, have got Villa, Everton, and West Ham, and then a gauntlet of Chelsea at home, Man City at home, and then Arsenal, obviously, away.
I think West Ham are going to give a run for money.
Mm-hmm.
They're a bit of a wild card at the moment. They're interesting to watch. Leicester, nice, easy 3 points. Who was the last one?
Arsenal for Arsenal or for Man United.
United.
United was Villa, Everton, and then West Ham, and then Chelsea, City, and Arsenal.
Yeah, see.
Everton and West Ham are going to give Man United a run for their money. Personally, Leicester's going to be an easy one for them. And then
Man United haven't got Leicester. That's us. Sorry, we've got Leicester. So that's the thing. But the flip side of that is, I think we can get a decent run with our fixtures. But Chelsea have got City away, and then West Ham and Palace at home, Man United away, Spurs away, Liverpool at home. Is there an outside chance we can close those 8 points? No, still no chance. No.
I think we've all decided. This was decided in January, wasn't it?
We're just cruising.
The league,
no hope,
league's
nothing.
Keep Man United off our tails. That's it.
If Chelsea were to lose one of those games, I think that would. It wouldn't be false hope. It would just be a sort of a relief to sort of say they're not invincible. So, but between us and United, I think we're expecting United to probably lose the last 3 games, depending on how City.
All 3 games.
Well, they've got Chelsea, Arsenal, and City. So unless you see United beat City and Chelsea, they have this mentality block against some of those teams that they just can't get over.
The other team in the equation is City. They've got Chelsea at home, Brighton away. I think it's Leicester, and they've also got Man United. Sorry, Man United and Palace. I think I'm missing a game there, and one other. But they're 4 points behind. Do you think they could get in? I mean, the question: how do you think that top 3 battle is going to finish? Assuming Chelsea top it, should we fear City? Do you think they've got a soft enough run in to do it?
Yeah, I think City do have I think they'll have that manager bounce, or depending on what happens with the back-to-back games against Chelsea, because that's going to be the mental block that they're going to have. Playing the same team 4 times in a row, it's not fun.
Yes.
We've seen back-to-back games this season, and it hasn't gone to plan for a lot of the clubs. So to play each other 4 times, that's not going to be an easy watch, especially if you're fans of both. For the neutral, it's probably fantastic because you're probably sitting there wondering, thinking this is fun and great games. But
yeah. Everton at home, sorry. So Everton was the game I admit it was at home. I think they've got a soft run of fixtures that they could maybe close the gap if Man United fumble it. I think that's not over yet. I would like us to finish second, and I think it's in our hands to finish second. It's just we've got to be consistent. Where I'm really interested in the league, and we will move on to Wimbledon in a bit, but I just want to finish on this, is there was a bit of a late twist in the relegation battle. I believe you told us this about Matt. Matt, Palace might yet survive,
and it was a really weird game. Because Leicester, Palace were 1-0 up at half time, The problem is with Palace is usually when they go 1-0 up, they do concede 2 or 3, and then that they're out of the game. But Villa go and bring it back level, and then if Palace go up the other end and score 2, bear in mind that Sabrina basically passes it to Katie Stengel.
So I haven't seen the goals, but I've heard there's been a Sabs clanger.
Yeah, the problem was she was wearing the Batgirl mask, so I think she was the Batgirl mask sort of took over.
Vision impaired, shall we say,
Yeah.
with it, but I believe it's 1 point now, isn't it? 1 point behind Villa now, and I mean Villa could get relegated. I mean, which is astounding when you think about the talent they have. I mean, I thought I thought it was going to be between Palace and Leicester, and I thought Leicester were clear and Palace were doomed. But seeing Villa think as they are, even under the new management, keep an eye on that. And I think Villa have got a shout in some of our games. We've got to go to Villa Park.
Yeah.
So they will have something to fight for as we go to those games. So suddenly those games have got an extra edge. We've got Palace away and Villa away. So we're going to have a say in that relegation battle coming up. So that's something to be very excited about.
It'll be interesting as well because you've also got Leicester, and Leicester have only scored 10 goals all season. If you're going to stay up and you only score 10 goals, that doesn't bode well.
We shall move from the WSL across the channel, across the waters to not so sunny Spain. I'm afraid it's very rainy and miserable over here, which is very disappointing. I brought my shades for nothing. Real Madrid versus Arsenal. Just a quick question. When was the last time the Arsenal women / ladies played Real Madrid? I'll give you can throw a year at this if you want. Any year? Any takers? Matt,
Is this the lockdown season, the game before PSG?
Actually, it's a trick question. They've never played before.
Yeah.
So this is the first time in history that the Arsenal women and Real Madrid have faced off against each other. So exciting times.
Another fun stat for you.
Go on.
Since the men are coming as well from Real Madrid, it'll be the first time that both teams have played competitive football at the Emirates when they do eventually get here.
Yes, they are. I think Real Madrid have got a few friendlies, men at least. I think there's a few.
Yeah.
It's friendlies, but competitively, no.
Absolutely. That's a weird situation where people talk about, got Arsenal Madrid coming up. I said, which ones? It's a bit of I've got tickets for the Madrid game. Which one? It's both. Well, I haven't. I've only got obviously the women's game. A few shout out for a few key players. Some of you may have heard of. So Olga Carmona, you may remember, scored the winner in the World Cup final. Darn it. Sinja Brun, who once had a loan spell at Manchester United, and Arsenal were in the market for signing when the Russo deal fell through. Caroline Weir, again, a bit of extra Arsenal influence there, ex-Arsenal and Manchester City player. Philip Angodal, an ex-Man City player. Melanie Leupolz, you may remember, used to play for Chelsea. So there's a few players in that Real Madrid team, quality team that we should know of, but there is one player that I think is worth talking about. And there was only one person I can think who can talk about this player, and that, of course, is Matt. So, Matt, I'm joking. Lottie. Linda Caicedo.
Yeah.
Why is she the most amazing player in the world, and why should we fear her?
She's 19 years old. She's led her country to 2 World Cups, gone really far in it, and she's beat cancer all before the age of 18. Like, the woman's a legend in her own name. The way that she skinned Germany in the World Cup was just unbelievable. That's what got me watching her. If you look at that German team at the time, you look at the vast experience of those players there, the big names that we see in Europe. She didn't care. She just went straight up. She was relatively unknown to most of the world, and I think she's officially announced herself the other summer. I didn't actually ever think I was going to get to see her play live, but hey, here we are.
Well, let's hope nothing bad happens in the game. She ends up being suspended, because then you'd be denied.
Do you know what? You and your jinxes, right, get really annoyed. They've had 4 yellow cards, and they've had no red cards so far in their Champions League journey. So
yes, I'm really
can't tell you who got the yellow cards, but
no.
At the moment they've had 4 wins and a loss. Is that right? Form-wise? Yeah.
Pretty much. They've only lost in the group stage. Only lost 2 games. That was to Chelsea. Won all their others, and obviously came through second place.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see Caicedo as well again. I think she scored that Germany game. It was a rocket of a shot.
She did.
She did. It's a bit of a worldie, and
She
a bit
did.
of a rising
And
star.
she skinned Alexandra Pop. It was great.
Which is always
I,
good.
I love it when she gets skinned or she gets knocked over. It's fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would love it if she came to the red and white of Arsenal, but I think maybe, you can't have every great winger,
No, you can't.
but-
We're overloaded. I don't think
absolutely. But
she's only 19 as well, so I don't think she'll be up on the pecking order very high. I mean, Rosa
Well-
Kovacs is struggling, and she's a baller.
yeah, but think about our defence: Linda Caicedo on the wing, Fox and McCabe, whichever side she goes on, they're going to have a good arm wrestle, which should be good to witness.
Yeah, I mean, Emily Fox should be all right. She's been spotted without her foot brace on, so to speak.
Yeah.
Which is great news.
She
I did
has travelled.
just before the pod. I did see a lovely little video on Twitter when I was scrolling of Kate McCabe playing with Win, and then Emily Fox rocks up with no foot brace. I was like, yes.
Yes, it was said after the Everton game. It was purely precautionary. She'd been trodden on, but thankfully nothing serious. And the last time I saw a player recover from being in the protected booth that quickly was Katie McCabe when she scored a worldie against Manchester City at the North Bank. So
Housery on that one.
If we can get a Fox worldie against Real Madrid, I'll be more than happy with that. I did mention this before. 4 out of 6 wins in the group stage. So we've got the win home away against Celtic and FC20. Currently second in La Liga, just 7 points off Barcelona. Always been a team that has got the talent, but never really sort of fulfills it. Obviously, Liga F is kind of a closed league up top because Barcelona just win every season because of this league's ahead of everybody else. But I looked at the game. I remember watching them against Chelsea. They only lost 3-2 at Stamford Bridge, and they lost away. They lost at home rather when Chelsea were away at the time. Lost at home to Chelsea 2-1, which kind of decided the group. But they were good in that game, and they only had like a 5-minute moment of madness when they conceded 2 penalties and Chelsea won it. But they were, for the rest of the game, their attack looked pretty good. So I don't. People have said this is the easy draw compared to the other options on the table.
I don't think it is. I really don't think it is. Like, Barcelona suck everything up. We know this. It operates. That's how they operate in the men's game as well. But I don't think we should be writing them off as the easy game.
No, but
Absolutely not.
So not easy game, but out of the options on the table who were second in the group, which were Wolfsburg, Manchester City. I think this was the draw people wanted the most.
But we beat Wolfsburg before. Why would you not want a new challenge?
Well, we haven't beaten Wolfsburg. That's the problem. We haven't beaten.
No,
Wolfsburg.
We've almost beat them. Almost. Sorry, I had to think about that then. Yes. I was there.
We have almost beaten them many times. I mean, as much as I'd like to think, as much I'd like to believe that Emirates Stadium was a win, it sadly was a defeat for us.
It was a mental win for me, as far as I was concerned.
Yeah, it was a mental game, and a lot happened. I've been looking forward to this one. I think Arsenal got a really good opportunity here to maybe do something. Again, we've never played them before, so there's an element of the unknown there. But I'm really looking forward to it. We will therefore flip over to the red and white of Arsenal. So a few team news. Lotta and DVD did sadly not travel. Lotta's got an injury. DVD still is concussed from the Liverpool game. Leah Cadena is managing a small injury at the moment, but has at least travelled, thankfully. And as we said earlier, Fox is out of her boot. So I'm just going to put there. So 290 fans will be there, roughly. Is that an acceptable allocation for a Champions League quarter-final, Lottie?
You really want to talk to me about away allocations?
Go for it.
Really? Well, I haven't been to that stadium, so I can't exactly.
Should we be at the Bernabeu?
Accept or not?
Should we be at the Bernabeu?
Well, it's Real Madrid, and they don't care about their women's team. You go back to I think it was the president of Real Madrid. They wanted to liquidate them at one point, so because they weren't winning anything, because Barcelona's getting everything. They were firmly on board with what was that thing that was going on a few weeks ago? Oh my god, what was it? It was a bit like there was something to do with the women's, and they wanted to make the league all one so that Barcelona didn't win everything all the time or something like that. I can't quite remember what it was. I read it a few weeks ago and I thought that's a load of nonsense. But yeah, for me personally, Real Madrid don't care about their women's teams. They say they do, they don't. So I'm not really surprised where they are at this point. I don't think, if you look back at, is it Totti's interview? He's going to be relying on the home fan support to really bring in like the motivations to play.
Yeah.
I don't know what their following is like, so I can't say if their fans going to turn up or whatever. Like, it's a bit like Liverpool. At the Emirates, they've got like maybe 2-3 stands, whereas you look at Meadow Park, they've got at least a quarter of the room of Meadow Park down in the south, or half the south stand. So it depends on how many people travel on the day as well, of course. But
I'm a bit annoyed because I was hoping the fact that we have VAR and goal line technology that will force them to use their main stadium, a bit like with the Emirates Stadium.
They've got enough money to transport it.
Yeah, sadly so. So it is. We're sadly in a smaller stadium, and there was a lot of anxiety and chaos trying to get one of those tickets. And thankfully, I managed to after messing up first time round. But they are like gold dust, and I'm hoping that the 290 who are squeezed into that stadium.
What's the seating at the stadium?
I don't know. Just have to go in. I don't
When
know,
you
but I'll
look
be
at
taking
it,
plenty of
it
pictures.
does look like it's one of those 5,000 to 10,000 seat stadiums. It's almost, it feels very much like it's a academy stadium. It's not meant to be like a proper stadium where you put your women's team.
I think it's probably a bit like the Joy, that sort of sense.
Yes.
As in it's academy stadium, but can do sort of the more the bigger games like that. And unfortunately, I think this is a trend we're seeing in across Europe, like Bayern Munich. You know, obviously a big name in the women's game, hardly play at their main stadium. In fact, when we had the group stage earlier, we were in the campus stadium. Although, of course, we then did put the game on at Meadow Park. The intent
I just
was
kind of
otherwise.
looked it up, guys. It's a 12,000 seater, and it's actually their training centre.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised the seats are limited.
But 12,000 to only get 290 is a bit bonkers.
It depends on which stands they're opening up. So they've got the two obviously the two long sides of the pitch. There's 4,000 seats, and then the 2,000s on either goal end. So it depends on how many stands they're actually opening up. If they're only opening the one stand,
I think that's probably it.
But that's fair enough.
I think it's 2 or 3 sections in one of the stands they are opening up, so it's very minimal. But I'm confident that the travelling support will make their voices heard. I'm just thinking back to our trip to Juventus we did.
I want to hear you croaky when we come back to podcast.
The trip to Juventus we did with the in that stand out in exposed to the elements, and we cold and we sung the place. Not as cold as Vålerenga. That was freezing. That was Arctic, but that was still made our voices heard. It was Norway, and I tell you what, that was fantastic. So Real Madrid's got a lot to so far. I've only done 2, but so far Vålerenga away has been the best away trip. So Real Madrid, you've got time to see if you can step up to the plate. One player we should have a shout out for, who will be available and will be making their Champions League debut for Arsenal, is of course, do you know nice one? No, is of course Chloe Kelly. Matt, how excited are you? Matt, I'll give you to both of them. Matt first, Chloe Kelly.
You do say that. It was a bit of a surprise, really, that Jen and it didn't actually come on against Everton, especially with what happened to Fox.
Nice Wonga and Gafaji have travelled, we believe, so they could make their play. But as an Everton fan, obviously knows Chloe Kelly rather well. How excited are you?
I think it's an opportunity for her to prove her worth and put herself more. I know it sounds really weird, but to put yourself more into the window to say, look, I'm available. And Real Madrid do actually love a freebie. So it's going to be one of those where
you think she might be advertising herself for Real Madrid, not for Arsenal.
It's not just. There's going to be plenty of contracts. We know that there was rumours of her with PSG a couple of years ago and things like that. And PSG also do love a freebie as well. But so that's beside the point. This is an opportunity to go out there, not only showcase yourself for England, for Serena, and potentially whoever you want. If I'm sure Arsenal are going to be interested in the summer, so it's an opportunity for her to say, I belong on this stage. And it won't matter that, okay, in the past, I think it was 4 or 5 seasons, City have failed at the first hurdle, and she hasn't been able to showcase her skills
Yes.
Especially, I mean, even if you look back at the Euros where we won it, yes, she did get the winner, but was she able to showcase her skills?
She was a sub. She was a super sub.
She was
most
an
of the
impact.
time.
Yes, she was an impact sub. So it's getting out there and not just making a name for yourself, but going out and proving that you can play at this level and potentially even further in the competition, and making yourself not just selfishly, because it is a team game at the end of it. If you can get the assist, if you can get get that spark, and make it happen, it gives you an advantage going into that second leg at the Emirates.
Absolutely. Lottie, I have jested long enough, but I will come to you this one. Chloe Kelly, I know you are very much a fan. So how excited are you potentially seeing a Champions League under the lights, Real Madrid away? Could we see an on run from her from the halfway line, beat all the defenders and tuck it past the keeper?
Possibly, it depends if she gets started. Thing is, you're asking these questions to the person who asked you. I thought she was cocktailed up before the podcast. You know what I mean? So I feel like a right plonker today. It's just, I'm existing. But yeah, no, I'm excited for her because it's the one competition that City haven't blocked her from getting minutes.
Yes.
And hopefully we can stay in it so she can get a decent run and be ready for the Euros in the summer and Serena puts her down on that squad list because she is that game changer when you need her when she's coming off the bench.
Absolutely.
So it's and you need players like her. And I think we've been missing that for a little while. Although Caitlin Ford has kind of fitted into that mold since she's been benched, and then we've had Mariona in. So yeah.
I mean, it's good. I suppose this is because when we played Liverpool at home, we were sort of two wingers short. But now we're playing Real Madrid. We have Ford and Beth and Hurtig and Kelly, and suddenly we've gone from like two to like five wingers. It's crazy how the pendulum has swung quite a lot. So we have options to rotate around now.
It is crazy, but I'd rather have the options in the Champions League because the league's done. We're trying to keep hold of second, but the league is done.
Yeah.
As far as winning it goes for me.
Yeah.
So we've only got the Champions League to fight for, and if we've got all those options, then so be it.
How far can this team go, though? That's going to be the question. If they can win.
I mean, I would say this to a friend on the way up. If you start looking, I mean, I was a bit hesitant with this because if you start looking
take it game by game. I'm not answering that question. I'm sorry.
Exactly, because I did this with Liverpool.
I don't count my chickens before my eggs have hatched.
Because I was looking at this with the Liverpool game, thinking, if we beat Liverpool, and what happened? We lost to Liverpool. So I'm always I'm with Lottie in this one. Is let's beat Real Madrid, let's beat them, knock them out, and go for it. I should say though,
you need to remember they gave Chelsea a run for their money. And most teams here struggle to beat Chelsea.
This is the problem, isn't it? Is that people's misinterpretation of how a team is missing of just looking at Real Madrid at the back. Okay, come on, I'm not a huge fan of.
I don't think no English fan is, to be fair.
Yeah, but there's I'm not going to go on about Missy Rodriguez in goal, fairly decent goalkeeper for Spain. One player that you haven't mentioned, Adam, is Athena Del Castillo, who's fantastic.
You know what? She's on my list, and I skipped over her. But because I didn't have anything to say about her. Actually, as you've raised her up there, tell us a bit about Del Castillo.
She's just a fantastic player to watch. Essentially, she's one of those players that you just sit and you just really have to watch and enjoy because I say this a lot with a lot of these players that you have to watch them in the flesh to be able to understand where they're coming from.
I was wondering why the Kimi catch line was coming.
But it's
something that Matt says always about Kimi. You can't appreciate Kim Little till you watch her live.
No, I agree with that. Again.
No, we always have, but it's something that Matt says all the time.
It's a bit similar with the new signings and things. You got to watch them in the flesh before you make a judgment on them. And even then, you can say, right, I'll give you until if sounds in January, I'll give you a year, as a bedding in.
On the Del Castillo one, I think it was when we had England-Spain at Wembley. It might have been last month, and she came off the bench, I think, and really gave Nee Charles a run for her money on that flank. I was thinking, she's actually offering a threat. Fast, dynamic, trick really on that wing. Again, we talk about Caicedo, but I think she could offer something equal on the flank. We should just say, to round up, we'll get onto the team predictions, score predictions. Arsenal don't actually have a really good record in away leg quarterfinals. They've only won 3 in the history, and the last one was in 2013 against Torres. But these are 2 legs for a reason. If we get a draw,
I
that's
remember
great.
rightly, your tweet said Fahey.
Fahy.
Fahey, that's it.
Fahy bundled over the line against Torres in a 1-0 win. But again, these games are 2 legs, and as long as we get something from the game, even if it's a draw, I'm confident we could go to Emirates Stadium, a bit like with the Bayern Munich game a few years ago with the Friedel goal and the Steiner goal, and we could put on a real show. But we'll see. So on that note, we should say Manu's going to be in goal, so there's no point predicting otherwise there. We know because obviously DVD's out. I think defence we could probably say is going to be Fox, Williamson, Catley, and McCabe. So the question is the midfield do we start Kyra? She was benched. Do you go for the little Velty? Lottie, I can see you're thinking about this, so I'm going to come to you first.
I'd bench Kim Little.
You
No
bench the
second thoughts about it. Leah Velty, Kyra, Cooney Cross. No second
bench our
thoughts about it.
captain.
Leah can lead. Thank you very much. Leah Williamson can lead.
I'm not disagreeing.
Casey
I'm not
can
disagreeing.
lead.
I just the idea. It's just I can fully picture Kim Little being benched. It's just it shows.
There's a reason why Rene benched her for most of the Everton game and let Kimmy run out.
I do think Kimmy was benched for this game. I don't think Kyra. I think Kyra was benched with the Real Madrid game in mind. I do agree with that, and I think it says a lot about Kim Little.
Nothing against Kimmy, but I just feel Kyra's kind of more suited to this, especially if it's going to be the chaos like Chelsea.
Interestingly, Rene was actually asked about this. Freddie from the Goon actually mentioned this. He spoke about this because Kyra actually playing more of a lone pivot, which she has done in some of the games. And Rene sort of said, it's something we do game by game by game. But it's clear that she's being trusted more with her defensive responsibilities. And obviously, if you play her in the lone pivot, it gives you the extra number in attack, which is probably what we're getting with Mariona pushing forward. I think one of Kim or Velty will be benched, but I think it says a lot about Kim Little, all the experience she has. Maybe that maybe she can't play this sort of level anymore, which is a shame. But I think Kyra's definitely deserved the opportunity to be in that midfield. Yeah, Matt, how would
as much as we say 10 more years?
Oh yeah, 100 more years. Make her a cyborg and play for it like a Terminator. Just keep on playing forever. Matt, the attack, how would you shape up?
That's the difficult one because of how
we got options now.
Yes. Do you just throw them all? I think Alessia starts. Let's just put that out there. Alessia starts.
Okay. Yeah.
So that means
9 or a 10. As a 9 or a 10.
Definitely as the 9. I think.
Okay. So, right.
In this, you're probably relying on Mariona. As depending, I think you're gonna have to put Mariona as the 10, just because she knows Madrid's game fairly well inside and out, so she'll be able to conduct and orchestrate the attack without really needed to be on the wing, which will free up. I'm imagining Caitlin Ford's going to be on one side, and I'm going to go with Chloe Kelly on the other, and
yes.
And Beth will be coming on in the later stages like she has in the recent games.
Actually, because Beth came off the bench against Everton, and I thought she was very effective in off the bench. Set up the Russo goal, obviously, but I think maybe we'll see a starter finisher with Beth as the finisher and Kelly as a starter. And I'd like to see Kelly given her another start. I think she's got a lot to offer there. Makes you wonder where Kafaji will sit in that front, whether she'll come on or whether it be what the hierarchy is in terms of off the bench of Hurtig as well on there. But I would like to see. I don't think it will be as a start, but I would like to see Ira Mariona in the pivot, and then just gives us more numbers in attack. So you can add in the likes of Frida, or then you get in the position we have Russo, 10, Steen, and 9 go more and more attacking, but at the same time you don't want to lose the first leg. It is a 2-legged game. Don't lose the tie in the first leg, whatever you do. So much for Renee.
It was just you just made me think about that, Adam. Back on the Everton game, Frida Marnham, she wasn't that Frida Arnhem that we've seen in the past. She just seems so.
She's been a
I
bit on
think,
and off, hasn't she?
yeah, she's
She
very
has
low
good
in
games, and then
confidence,
yeah.
and I don't know, like twists and turns. You kind of get it, but at this moment in time, you kind of need Frida to be on it, like she was on it when she won the Player of the Season. That's the sort of levels you see her at. And unfortunately, she hasn't been able to get to those levels again.
Lottie, anything more? Would you go differently attack, or would you stick with what Matt's gone for?
Pretty much. Yeah. There's nothing to argue about for a change.
Fair enough. No, that's fine, because we'll then move on to the score predictions. I'm not going to ask you, Lottie, because she's going to say 3-2 Arsenal. So
Do you know what? I might as well just cut myself out of this pod. Okay.
No, I am joking. Lottie, what is your score prediction?
I don't need to say my score. No, move on to Matt.
Okay, all right. I guessed, but okay. I take it you are going for 3-2 Arsenal. You're on mute.
No.
Oh no. Okay, we're going for.
No, go and ask Matt. You've already told me what I'm going to say.
No,
so...
all right, Matt. All right, I wasn't joking, but Matt, what are you going for?
I would be happy with another 3-1 that way. That gives us a little bit more of a of coming back to the Emirates, and actually just, you don't need to do much, but it'll give you, it's still a good night out for everyone that will be going. So I'll go for 3-1 Arsenal.
I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I think Russo and Caicedo. I think Caicedo scores first and Russo equalises in the second half. And I don't think that'd be a bad result to take back to Arsenal. But if we got a 2-1 win, that would be it wouldn't be too bad for Arsenal either. I mean, I've spoken to people who know Spanish football, and they're confident Arsenel should win. They think there's enough quality in the team.
Madrid did draw a 2-2 when they basically hit the self-destruct button. Last minute goals gave them the equaliser, but for both Deportivo La Coruña's goals, they were both own goals. So you never know who you're going to get.
Fingers crossed. Well, let's hope it is a win for the Arsenal. Like I said, it'll be the first one since 2013, so it'll be a good way to sort of kick off the semi-final, quarter-final rather. Can't get ahead of myself, it's a bit worrying. But before we move on and close out, let's just ask, where can we find everyone on their socials? Lottie, where can we find you?
You find the pod on VAW Pod on Twitter and Instagram and Blues. I think we're on Blue Sky. Yes, we are. Or you can find me at Lottie AWFC on the Twitter sphere. My account is currently private, so don't bother. But mostly Instagram.
Yeah, and do keep an eye out for the amazing matchday photos. I'm looking forward to the Liverpool game already, where the camera will be out. So keep an eye out for those snaps. Matt, where can we find you?
You can find me. I've actually found out that I've been saying my Substack is actually wrong. My Substack is MattLR28. At Matt LR, sorry. My Twitter is MattLR28 on Twitter, and you can follow the pod at VAW Pod as well.
Excellent. You can find me at Adam _Salter 4 on so the Blue Skies, your Twitters, your Instagrams, and similar platforms. You can also follow the Arsenal Women Archive for even more former Arsenal games. Plenty on the list. Some Champions League games coming up, some iconic ones, so do keep an eye out for them. But yes, Champions League is back. It's Real Madrid versus Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners.